Hello, this screencast will discuss how we can develop notes into a paragraph. The first thing you want to do before you even start reading is to keep your purpose in mind. What is the assignment? What is the focus or theme of the unit? With this in mind, you can take purposeful notes. You can write notes that explore the ideas that address the assignment and are the focus of the unit. But you should also follow your own line of thought. In addition to speaking to the ideas under consideration in class, think about what's interesting to you and what strikes you as significant. In this way, your notes become individual, and you'll find your way into the meaning of the text that's unique to you and meaningful for you. But again, be consistent and give that special attention to the key ideas of the task in the unit. When you're taking your notes, you want to include text citations, analysis, definitions of new vocabulary, paraphrases of key moments in the story. The point of these notes is to engage the text meaningfully and to choose bits and pieces of the text that are meaningful to you and point to that larger meaning. Once you've completed the notes for a section of text or for a complete text, you want to write a claim that explores the ideas, not the plot. So while you're taking those Cornell notes and you've got your definitions, your paraphrases, and your citations and analysis, stop and look and identify the concepts that you see emerging from those notes, remembering that a concept is an abstract noun. It's an idea, basically, that you see emerging from that text. Make sure your claim incorporates those concepts and is generally true and applicable beyond the world of the text. By writing claims in this way, you're steering yourself away from writing plot summary and just describing the main thing that happened to the main character in that passage. You're getting at the larger value of the text and why the ideas are important to you, the reader, and to other readers. Then, essentially, your work is done. You're going to support the claim with evidence from your notes, but the note-taking is done, and you choose those notes that are supporting of your claim, and you incorporate those in your paragraph. Remember that the paragraph explains the claim and not the story, and you allow the details of the story to support your explanation. This will keep you from simply retelling the story. Now we'll take a look at a sample of student work, and I'll show you how the color coding illustrates how the student's reading notes become the supporting evidence and analysis in the paragraph. This is a page from a student's reading journal for The Old Man and the Sea from the very beginning of that novella by Ernest Hemingway. And you can see he's labeled the pages that he's read, that these notes apply to. He's got text citations, analysis, definitions, and then the significance of the definitions in terms of his understanding of the text throughout this document. And after he's completed his analysis, he's written the concepts that he sees emerging in his notes. What are the concepts that Hemingway is exploring in these passages? So the blue color coding indicates analysis, and the red is the text citation or the paraphrase. Not every text citation is highlighted because not every text citation found its way into the paragraph that follows. Here's an example of how a definition can tell you something significant about your character. So this writer was not sure what a fathom was, so he looked it up and found that a fathom is 2 yards. 2 yards is 6 feet. 6 times 40 is 240 feet. So Santiago's out in some deep water. Hemingway didn't need to say that, he just needed to tell us how deep the water was that he dropped his line into when he was fishing. Again, with the definition of iridescent, we find out that the man-o-war, the Portuguese man-o-war, which is a very large jellyfish, is beautiful, but it's deadly. Just by looking up iridescent. So now we come down to this writer's paragraph, and what we have here is a claim based on the concepts above, and that's highlighted in yellow. When poverty afflicts a person, faith in beauty can transform reality into truth. It's a pretty powerful, substantial statement. Does not refer specifically to Santiago, does not tell us anything about what's happening in the story, but is an observation that's true of life. Our writer follows that claim with some information that contextualizes what he's about to say. And that contextualization is in green. We find out who Santiago is and what he's doing. And notice that this writer has included the language of the hero's journey in this contextualization, right? He's on a heroic journey. He's crossing a threshold. And he's facing a trial. That contextualization is followed by information that comes from the notes above, with some development. But essentially what you see in the red and the blue that follow the green are details from the journal. There's no new information here. There's no new work in terms of going back and rereading text. But this writer's incorporated work he's already done into the paragraph. So to a certain extent, this writer has cut and pasted from his journal and then cleaned it up so that it's an appropriate paragraph. And it's a substantial paragraph. You can see there are 4 text references in this piece of writing. It's a standalone paragraph, so it's hard to conclude the paragraph with any kind of transitional language to lead it to the next idea. So this final sentence acts as a summary statement that reflects but does not simply repeat the initial claim, right? Their faith embodies the truth that transforms reality into the bread and butter of life, and they live another day, finding enough strength to continue their struggle. So this final statement is getting at the wisdom that Santiago and Manolín gain from their hero's journey. So this writer could revise that to speak specifically to that phase, that return of the hero, and speak to that. It would depend on what's coming next, though. But the point here is that the work of the paragraph comes from the thinking and the expression of those thoughts, not in rereading or go digging for more information. So this writer has learned to work smart while he's working hard, so that he doesn't have to work twice, basically. Thank you. This will conclude our screencast on turning notes into a paragraph.